بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب زدني علما.
Okay, so let's try to understand what is SD-WAN. So before we get into the actual in detail of the SD-WAN course, so we need to understand what is SD-WAN. So in simple words, SD-WAN stands for software defined WAN. WAN is nothing but your wide area network. Now this SD-WAN is a part of the SDN architecture. So if you remember in the foundations, we have seen there are different types of network automations we can do. We can automate your LAN, where you can automatically configure your devices, and we can configure the switches to do the forwarding from a centralized controller. We call this as SD access. A similar way, we can also automate your WAN sites. That is software defined WAN here. So in terms of SDN architecture, it is a part of SDN architecture where we are trying to automate your WAN networks. So what is SD-WAN? It's a software approach for managing your wide area networks based on the software defined approach, which is going to offer plenty of advantages like centralized management. We manage everything from a centralized controller and makes your job easier, reduces the cost, and also improves the connectivity of your branch offices. But before we get into the SD-WAN, now we need to understand what are the problems with your previous traditional WAN. Okay, so because when we talk about SD-WAN, it is more or less the same kind of WAN we use. We still use MPLS, we still use a broadband, we still use 4G networks, but the only difference is we are trying to redefine this with automation concepts. And why we are doing that? Because the traditional WAN which are being used, they have some disadvantages. So let's try to understand the traditional WAN disadvantages. So then we'll understand what are the advantages we get with the SD-WAN and how it is going to be more better option compared to the traditional WAN. Like one of the simple thing, like if you talk about traditional WAN, we do have some branch offices. So let's say these are my branch offices. Now we are going to connect these branch offices to your head office and to your data center. We generally connect them, right? So depending upon how many connections you have. Now we do connect these sites. We either use MPLS, we have other options like I can also use internet, even I can use 4G as a backup links. So generally when you are connecting these things, most of the time, the most popular technology we use is MPLS. MPLS MPLS again provides some kind of high-speed data transfer rates, generally provided by the service providers. And again, we do have some of your users sitting here in the branch offices. They are trying to access some kind of applications, let's say. So they'll be accessing the application and the resources from the head office, where all your centralized database, where you have all your application hosted, or maybe in the data center, and you're trying to access everything from the branch office. Now, while this happens, the router, because whenever the user sitting here is trying to access the application, the request goes to the router, and the router is going to check the routing table and route the packet. Because if you have multiple routes, what it is going to do? It's going to calculate, if you're running OSPF, it's going to calculate the cost. And whichever the route is having the shortest path, it is going to use that particular path, and it is going to forward the packet. That is a traditional routing, it works. And let's say due to some reason, if this link fails, then OSPF says you can go from alternate route. So we also have redundancy where it will use the second possible route to forward the packet. But the problem is most of the applications we run. Now, what if this particular route is actually congested? So if there is too much of traffic going on this link, if this link is down, so if the link is congested, it's not going to use the second link. Now, how the routing protocol works? Generally, we know routing, how it works. Let's say if there are 3 paths, it's going to decide any one route as the best route, and it is going to forward the traffic on that particular route. And whereas the second and the third routes are not being used, they are not used unless and until the primary route fails. So if the primary route fails, then only the second link will be used, which means this link is overutilized because most of the traffic may go from this route, which means from specific branch office to this data center or the head office, this link is utilized, whereas other links are only utilized if the primary fails. So it's like almost they are not utilized if the primary link is always running or up and running. Now the problem is when you are running some applications, if that applications do not get enough bandwidth, like a simple example, let's say I'm running some VoIP application, and that VoIP application requires 2 Mbps of bandwidth. And if this link is not having that much of bandwidth, there is a possibility that the packets may get dropped. And again, there is a quality of service you can add. That is another thing. But in today's network, most of the applications what we use, like if you take an example of something like Salesforce, or if you talk about Dropbox, where you host some files, or even if you take a Gmail, and all these applications, they are cloud based. So generally, these applications are like software as a service based applications, and these applications they reside in your data center, and probably they should be accessible from anywhere on the internet. Because when you are trying to use these applications, now these applications, they don't use the traditional MPLS network, they use internet to access that. So the problem is most of these applications may get impacted because of the traditional WAN architecture. Now, in the case of SD-WAN, so all the applications, whatever we are running, like in today's network, most of the applications what we use, they go over the internet, not over the traditional network, because these applications are hosted in the cloud and they will be using internet, which means the branch offices, from my branch office, we will be accessing these applications directly from the internet, not from the data center. Now, because of this, now the problem is it is going to add delay. Now, one of the issue with the traditional WAN is it is going to add delay, which means your normal traffic will use this primary route. Maybe it uses MPLS for connecting to headquarters or the data center. And if you are accessing any kind of cloud-based applications, it may use internet. So, or you may have an alternate path actually. So one of the issue with the traditional WAN is it's going to add delay because the application which is going to request from the data center, it's going to add delay. So what we can do is we can avoid this by ensuring that our branch offices are directly connecting to internet without needing to go to the head office. Because most of the time what we do is we connect the head office, all the branch offices, and we say that even if you want to go to internet, you actually go from the head office. Because that's going to add more load on this MPLS link or whatever the WAN link you are using. So instead of this, what we are saying is, we are saying, okay, now the branch office can go to internet directly to access all your cloud-based applications without going to the head office, right? So that is something we generally want to do. So again, with traditional WAN, it's going to increase the cost, okay? Because the additional cost will be added when you're adding the additional MPLS links between the data center and the branch offices. And even if the applications are using this link through head office, then that's going to increase the cost because it's going to increase the maintenance of the network equipments. Okay, and also the redundancy issues will be there, because if you want to provide some kind of redundancy, again, that is going to make much complex to deploy. And also it will impact the business productivity, because if there is a delay in accessing the applications, then it will also impact the company's productivity. So traditional WANs have some issues, like I said. So what we are trying to do here is, with the SD-WAN, we are going to overcome these problems. Like here, one of the disadvantages, the failover. Like let's say if you have two links, a primary link is always being utilized. And if the primary link fails, it will start using the second link, right? But again, that depends upon the convergence. That depends upon the convergence of your OSPF or EHRP protocol. Uh, but until that time, probably that will the link will be down, right? So what we'll be doing is, with the SD-WAN, we are going to automatically fail over between them. So which means, with SD-WAN, what we are trying to do is, let's say this branch office is specifically accessing some applications, or it's trying to send the database, send over the links. So what I can do is, I can do some kind of load sharing between these two. I can say that, okay, some applications which are specific to the internet can go from here. Also, it can go from MPLS, or even I can use a 4G network which can be connected. And these links can be, we can actually divide the traffic between the links. So we can dynamically shift the links. It's not manual, it's a kind of dynamically shifting the links. So where we can do more efficient utilization of the links by combining all the links and providing the maximum capacity to deliver the traffic. So with SD-WAN, it's no more the routing protocol will decide. Normally, in a traditional WAN, who will decide which path it is going to use? OSPF will decide the routing protocol. But whereas here, when we configure some SDN controllers, so based on the application requirement, it is going to decide whether the traffic should go over the MPLS, and it's going to check whether that particular bandwidth is available on that link. If not, it will try to send over the other link. Or if possible, it will try to do kind of load sharing between the two links, dynamically based on the application requirement. Now, the routing of the packets, it's no more done based on the shortest path. How the routing protocol will do? The routing protocol will decide the forwarding path based on the shortest path, based on the IGP, unless you implement some policy-based routing to decide which path they should use. But now the controller will decide which path the particular packet should flow based on the requirement of that particular applications, what we are running in your network. So this way we can automatically fail over the other links. And again, as I said, mostly some of the advantages are the same, like configuration is distributed here. Whenever you add any new site, you need to go and configure that particular site manually. And whenever you want to add any policies, any configurations, any changes, everything you have to log into the command line and do it manually. But whereas with SD-WAN, we are not going to do that. With SD-WAN, I do have a controller here, and the controller will push the configurations. So this device comes and connects to the controller, and the controller is going to push the configurations, and I can do something called zero-touch deployment. Now, the zero-touch provisioning, nothing but it's an automated provisioning of your devices. You simply connect a router to the network, or even if you connect to the internet, any broadband network. So it's pre-configured to contact its controller and get the configs, and dynamically the sites will come up without doing the manual configurations. So which means if I want to add hundreds of sites, I don't need to go to each and every site. Of course, you need to have that physical device connected to the internet, but I don't need to go to each and every device to do the changes. I can push all the configurations to these hundreds of sites from a single centralized place without touching that particular device. So this is what we call as auto provision of your WAN edge devices. But if you are doing this with a traditional WAN, it's going to take a significant amount of time, because you have to go to each and every site and do the manual configurations. So finally, if we quickly summarize, what is SD-WAN? SD-WAN is a replacement for your traditional WAN, a lightweight replacement for your traditional WAN. What this exactly means is we are not going to replace the MPLS. MPLS networks will be there. Still, we use MPLS to connect the sites. Still, we use a broadband to connect the sites. Still, we use 4G. But the only difference is we are going to manage the devices from a centralized controller. Okay, so most of the time you might think, okay, it's going to replace MPLS. It's not like that. So MPLS still provide you the connectivity through service provider, but the only difference is we are going to do the software defined automation kind of thing for WAN. So we can say like WAN automation. Also, it will provide you the load sharing between the sites. Like I said, when you're accessing specific applications, so it may do load sharing between these multiple sites. That is possible based on the application requirement. And also it is going to simplify the management of your sites from a centralized place. We are going to do everything like management, configuration, and orchestration. Everything of your WAN devices will be doing from a centralized controller place. So we'll be having a centralized controller, the SDN controller, probably from where we'll be managing. So that's actually, that is what these are the controller devices. These are all the devices comes under controllers. So we'll be talking about these things, individual devices, what they do. So improves the network security because by default, there is an inbuilt encryption, which is going to ensure that your WAN traffic, whether it is going over the internet or over the MPLS, it is encrypted. And also it is going to integrate your other services as well, like firewall, WAN optimization,